Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the newly released continent for Planetside 2 known as Hossin. And as I run across this field at night with glowing plants and giant trees all around me, it certainly does remind me a little bit of Pandora from the movie Avatar. And it certainly is a welcome addition to this game because we are playing on an alien world. Now, I gotta say the other continents are cool, but they don't necessarily make me feel like I'm on an alien planet. And this is the first time while playing Planetside 2 that I'm like, oh yeah, this is kind of a really cool new world. I want to see what's going on, and there's certainly a lot to look at here. The bases are all kind of existing in these weird canyons and sometimes on cliff sides, even up in trees on occasion, which really makes playing the light assault class a lot of fun. Flying up into tree branches and down from cliffs onto enemies below is just a great way to play this game, and I have a really hard time actually playing any other class than the light assault because I just love being able to get around so quickly. And with the release of Hossin has also come the added ability to lock continents. This really adds a new layer of strategy to the overall faction strategies. Which continents do we want to fight over? Do we want to try and lock certain continents? There's a benefit for locking continents. So if one faction controls, I believe it's 94% of a continent, or you win one of the alerts on a continent, you then lock that continent and it belongs to your faction and you get continental bonuses. For example, if you lock Hassen, your entire faction gets a 25% XP bump. That's pretty amazing, and it gives you a huge incentive to fight really hard to try and win this continent. If you lock Amerish, you get 50% off all of infantry purchases, so a lot more grenades, a lot more landmines, a lot more infantry gadgets for your entire army, no matter what continent you're fighting on. If you lock Esamir, you get 50% off of all mechanized purchases, lots of big tank armies. If you lock Indar, you get 50% off of aerospace purchases, so you're going to have a much bigger air superiority. So continent locking really is a very important part of your overall faction strategy now, and it's going to give you massive benefits if you can do it right. It doesn't mean that a team that doesn't have these benefits is automatically going to lose. It just means that they're going to have to fight a little bit harder and make better use of the resources that they have available. If you can't buy tanks as fast as the other team, then maybe play a little bit more conservatively and make a bigger push with your infantry efforts. Now, when it comes to the strategies on Hossin, one thing that I really like about it is that because there's lots of giant trees and big barricades and essentially a canopy over most of the continent, it provides you some very good cover against air superiority, so you don't have to worry too much about getting bombed. It's not to say I wasn't killed by air vehicles at any point while I was running around on the ground, it's just a little bit less frequently. One cool thing also that the canopy does is that it sort of separates the dogfighting battles from the ground battles. So if somebody gets on your tail and you go up above the canopy, you don't necessarily have to worry about somebody down below locking onto you with a rocket launcher. I mean, it is possible, but it's a lot less frequently. So there could be a massive air battle going on way up in the skies that most people on the ground don't really have any clue about. I really like the dynamic on Hossin, and just the fact that it focuses a bit more on infantry combat is really fun for me. That's what I like most in a first-person shooter. Again, there are lots of roads and paths for tanks to go on, but it is in a much more confined area, and tanks and other vehicles don't have as much maneuverability, so it's very predictable to know where they're going to be coming from and for infantry to mount a good defense. Now, because Planetside 2 is constantly breaking new ground, they're doing things that no other first-person shooter has ever done before, and adding in continent locking and all these new things is basically the first time for this game. So they're doing it very carefully and making sure that they don't upset the dynamic of Planetside. But Hassen is being called an early expedition, essentially kind of a beta version of Hossin. It's not to say that the continent is going to completely change by the final release, it's just some of the bases are not finalized yet, and they are planning on changing a lot more things to the continent to potentially see how the flow works. Planetside is such a complicated game that trying to anticipate how the gameplay is actually going to play out and flow is very difficult. It's much easier when you have a tiny map where there's 10 players versus 10 players. You can balance that and make sure that everything's nice and equal. On a massive continent where you have literally thousands of players fighting against each other, and not just one faction versus another, but 3 factions, sort of triangle battles going on, it's very hard to try and anticipate how things are going to flow and how they're going to play out. They've learned a lot from their previous continents, and it really does show on Hossin. The gameplay was constant, It was really fun. The choke points were well designed and they didn't feel too overpowered or create stalemate situations that would last for a long time. The battles always seemed to progress. There was always one team that seemed to be able to outflank the other one, whether it was my team or the enemy team. The battles seemed to shift around and move up quite a bit. So it was really cool to actually get to explore Hassen by just moving from battle to battle as we progressed further and further into the continent, capturing more and more bases. Now personally, I've always approached Planetside as more of a casual / solo player, which is definitely not the best way to enjoy the game. I know that being in a big faction and moving in bigger outfits and really just dominating bases and having a lot of good infantry members to back you up is one of the better ways to play Planetside, but I have to say they've done a lot of good things to make it fun for the individual, and at no point did I feel like I was really falling behind my teammates that were all working together. However, you can tell when you're up against a really good organized outfit because they're communicating. You take down one of their guys and they know where you're located, and all of a sudden you got 5 or 6 guys chasing you down, or you see a really organized flanking attempt or something like that. Unfortunately, I just don't have enough time to actually dedicate to the game to be in an organized outfit like that, but they have added some really cool new abilities that you can do in your outfit, like when you capture a base, if your outfit does most of the work, which means kills the most players there, captures the most points, spawns the most infantry on the actual point there, then you will actually get your outfit logo displayed on the banner of the base afterwards, which is just kind of a really cool thing that allows your outfit to kind of brag about how many bases you might have captured on any particular continent. Now, the developers are actually looking into giving some of these outfits benefits for capturing the base or doing the most work to capture that base. Stuff like cheaper infantry purchases or cheaper vehicle purchases. I'm not sure if it'll be exclusive to that base, maybe it'll be continent-wide, but that is a very cool incentive to actually get outfits to organize better and really make a big push to try and capture some bases. So there's a lot of cool incentives in the game right now. Another cool thing that they've added with this patch is basically an outfit recruiting tab in the menu, which not only allows you to set up a good recruiting system if you already have an outfit, but if you're looking for one, if you're a new player in the game, you don't really know anybody, you don't have any friends in game, then this is a great way to try and find an outfit that is looking for some new members. This is something that probably should have been in the game from the start, but the fact that it's in now is going to be a really, really good benefit, especially to the new players getting into this game, because I think that is one of the trickiest things with Planetside. It is a big game, it's a fairly complicated game, and if you don't know what you're doing right off the bat, it can be very daunting. Overall, I think the early expedition of Hossin is really great. It looks fantastic visually, it's a lot of fun to play in, and the continent locking has worked out well. I mean, certainly you could log on and be like, I really want to play Hossin, and the continent could be locked, which would prevent you from playing there at all. But what's cool about it is it means that if your player population is not too high on a server, continent locking will force you all to play on 1 or 2 different continents, basically forcing the player population together so that the battles are more intense and seem more alive. So it's just got a great way of scaling the game to always feel like there's some good action going on, regardless of how many players are online. So if you haven't played Planetside 2 in a while, Hossin is certainly a reason to get back into the game and check it out. And if you've never played Planetside 2, well, it's free to play. What are you guys waiting for? If you're a console player, it's coming out on PS4 very soon. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.